Are you stuck in a weight loss plateau? They suck. They absolutely suck. But I want to share with you the reason why you're in a plateau, and secondly, how to get out of it exactly. And the saddest, the part that I really get frustrated the most about weight loss plateaus is that it is the time where most women just throw in the towel. It's where women just throw in the towel and they quit on their goals or whatever program or system that they're using. They hit a plateau and they're like, oh, it's not working. This doesn't work for me. The way that I'm exercising is not doing anything for me, right? And at that moment, that is correct, but it doesn't mean that the program that you're using or the system, right? I use my Core 4 method. If you've not heard me talk about it, you absolutely need it. I'm fired up and passionate about habits because habits are the one thing that we absolutely have control over. Menopause. Before you go the HRT route, like whether you do or not, it's totally up to you, not a doctor, blah, blah, blah. But before you go like the injections route, the surgery route, the HRT route, the, God forbid, the special weight loss pink drink, sorry, not sorry, that's gonna, be the thing, blah, blah, blah. Before you do any of that, I want you to embrace the Core 4 method. Those are the core fundamental strategies, habits, groups of habits actually that you need to achieve what I call forever fat loss. And this is all bundled up in a beautiful course for you if you want to just say Core 4. Okay. So what actually is a plateau? A plateau is when your weight loss just stops, right? So maybe you're like, yeah, 1 pound, 2 pounds, 5 pounds, 10 pounds, right? I'm in a plateau right now myself. I'm down to my hashtag the last 10 of my 30 pounds that I put on in menopause, dropped 20. It took me over 2 years to do that. So patience is key, ladies. When you are in a plateau, it means that your body is comfortable. Okay. And so here's how it works, right? Like your body, I do have some notes here. We are adaptation machines. That's what I like to call it. Our bodies, our physiology, we are adaptation machines. We always are constantly looking to adapt to the current environment, to conserve energy, right? And to bring everything into homeostasis where we're like, we're safe, we're comfortable, okay? And so when you start something new, whether it's how you're eating, how you're training, like even your stress levels, as we know in menopause, the cortisol equation, that can influence how firmly your body holds on to body fat and inflammation and all the things, right? But at the end of the day, that is what your body is looking to achieve. It's looking to adapt constantly. So when we do different things, when we change things, that means our body is like, hold on a second, what's going on? And what does that create? It means your body has to work harder to figure out what you're doing. It's got to work harder to adjust. That's legit what is happening. Okay? Hitting a plateau doesn't mean that your walking regimen isn't working. It just means you might need to change some things about how long you're walking for and how you're walking. Maybe you need to walk on an incline. Maybe you need to, add another 5,000 steps to your step count each day. It takes energy to adapt. Does that make sense? It takes energy to adapt. And we are already kind of like working in this situation physiologically in midlife and menopause where our energy needs tend to go down a little bit, okay? Because generally speaking, we tend to move a little bit less more. We move less, okay? And for many of us, we start to lose muscle mass. And when you lose muscle mass, that means your metabolism slows down there. But when I first started to think about losing fat in menopause, the first thing I did was start focusing on protein. Protein is like the absolute magical macronutrient. It's amazing. It's amazing what you can do with protein alone. Anyway, I put this free guide together and now it's bundled inside of a bundle, but it explains the 411 on everything you need to know about midlife metabolism, why we might need a little bit less energy in the form of carbohydrates, right? So I'm not telling you to go do keto, but just understand that maybe you got away with eating a bowl of pasta 3 times a week in your 30s, maybe even your 40s. I certainly did, but in your 50s, it's probably not happening. So what do we need to do then if we hit a plateau? Like, what can we do? Okay, number one, change. Well, we need to change. We need to do something different. Okay, that's the answer. Now, what does that actually look like, right? And so one change you could undertake is changing your diet, right? And so what does that look like? Maybe you are going to actually shave off 100 calories off of your calorie allotment for the day, okay? And by the way, if you don't know this already, and this might be a surprise, or some of you might be a little hurt by this, is that calories in, calories out is actually a real thing. It's called thermogenesis. If we are taking in too many calories and not burning more calories than we ingest, that means our body is going to hold on to extra calories. Okay, so if you're looking to lose body fat, which ideally is what we're trying to do, weight loss can be achieved by sitting on the couch eating Twinkies all day as long as you're at a deficit, right? But if we want to actually lose weight the right way, i.e. lose body fat, increase muscle mass, and have a great lean body composition, okay, we do actually have to eat less calories. It's quantity, i.e. calories, and it's quality, i.e. what you are actually eating. So no, we don't want to sit on the couch all day long eating Twinkies. No, we don't want to do that, right? So what can we do? Well, we can, like I said, we can shave off some calories off of our however many calories we're getting in a day. And look, if you're somebody who's like, oh my gosh, should I be tracking my calories? Yes, I would suggest that you be doing that. Even if you don't have a ton of body fat to lose, tracking your calories is fascinating. It really is. You can see all kinds of things about what you're eating and how many calories are actually in what you're eating. It's crazy. So I highly recommend that you download the MyFitnessPal app. You can grab that and then, just start having a good look at what you're actually eating. Okay, so that's one thing. Another thing you can do around your diet is changing up your macro equation. So your macros are your carbs, your fats, and your proteins. Okay, so maybe you're going to increase your proteins a little bit and decrease your carbohydrate. Maybe you're going to decrease your carbs and increase your fat a little bit. Maybe even you're going to increase your carbs. Now, how that macronutrient ratio works, you can also track that inside of MyFitnessPal. I can help you do that. I teach you exactly how to do it inside of my Midlife Protein Fix bundle. But again, it's fascinating. And you can start looking at ways to adjust your macronutrient equation, carbs, fat, protein, how much you get of each. And then you can test, tweak, and track it, because that might be the answer. Maybe adding another 20 grams of protein in your day might even kick you out of a plateau, right? Maybe decreasing your carbs by 20 grams a day might kick you out of a plateau. Okay, maybe a simple shift of how many calories you're getting in a day. So maybe don't drink a glass of red wine at night, which is like what? Anywhere between 175 to 300 calories, depending on how big your glass is. A second way is you can do something like fasting, okay? So I used to fast all the time. I loved fasting. It's how I lost 20 pounds, actually 30 pounds after I had my kids. There's lots of science around fasting. It's a buzz thing, right? Everyone's like, ooh, fasting. It works for some women. It doesn't work for others. You have to be careful though. I have read, okay, and I'm pretty certain on this, that if you're a woman who is in the heat of perimenopause or even menopause and you're experiencing some inflammation, maybe your cortisol is high and you're experiencing a bit of anxiety and that kind of thing, then I probably would avoid doing too much severe fasting, because fasting will actually increase your cortisol a little bit, okay? Because you're putting your body into a state of like hunger, right? Which kind of makes your body sort of sit up and say, what's going on around here? Like, I don't like this, right? And I experienced this myself, so I didn't do any fasting. I can feel that my body's calmed down quite a bit over the last 6 months, but I'm actually going to be looking at incorporating a little bit of fasting. Highly recommend looking at Dr. Stacy Sims. She is a menopause expert. She's a professional athlete. I think she's a doctor of some kind. She's awesome. I really love how she talks about fasting. We have to be careful because the science behind fasting is actually different for women and men. And a lot of the science around fasting is actually based on a male physiology, not female. Give yourself 12 to 15 hours of fasting and just see how that feels. But doing something like that, again, is going to cause your body to adapt to something new. Okay, and that is something that can absolutely pull you out of a plateau. Just be prepared to change that, because nothing lasts forever. How you do something with your habits, even supplements, are the same. Your body will eventually adapt, okay? That's number 2. And then number 3 is change how you are training. Now, I say training because I refuse to call exercise anymore. It's just my personal philosophy, because, hey, right now in our late 40s, 50s, maybe you're even in your 60s, we need to train. We are training our body for performance. And by that, I mean, we want to be able to lift a heavy bag. We want to be able to lift grandchildren. Like, I want to be able to run if I have to. I want to be able to put my luggage in the bin above if I have to lift heavy things, to bend over, to squat. All of this kind of thing, okay, is training. We're actually training our body in midlife, because a lot of women get to this point and they've been doing years and years of cardio and have no muscle mass left, right? So one of the tips here is to actually start lifting weights, okay? So if your particular regime has been very cardio focused, right? drop 2 or 3 days of your cardio and start getting in the gym and lift heavy. And heavy is, it depends on where you're at. A lot of women, arrive in their 50s and have never been in a gym, have never lifted a weight. That's okay. You can learn, right? And so when I say heavy, that all depends on what's heavy to you, of course. Also make sure that you're following something called progressive load. So in other words, and again, this is to do with plateaus, right? If you're going in the gym and you're just lifting the same weight all the time, like you've got the 20-pound weight for your shoulder presses, at some point your body's like, yeah, we got that. That's not difficult anymore. We're just rolling with it. We're all settled into this routine, right? So you actually have to make it heavier, because if you understand muscle mass growth, okay, so we want to preserve lean muscle mass at our age for sure, but we want to grow muscle mass, because what's happening is our muscles are atrophying, and they have been for a little while. Okay, you're actually losing muscle mass at a rapid rate, and we don't want to do that, because that influences your metabolism also. So progressive load is simply tracking your weights and making sure that every few weeks, right, you're increasing the weight. And that can be, you can assess that based on your own effort, right? Like, you don't, like 15 reps is too light, 12 reps is too light, right? I would say anywhere between, 7 to 10 reps, right? And when you get to that last rep, like, whatever it is, like you can't possibly lift another weight. Now, disclaimer, I'm not a personal trainer. I've just been lifting weights and training for 20 years. So always consult your medical professional before you go into the gym and start doing something crazy and then come back and say, Christine told me to lift heavy weights, right? But it's the principle that I'm teaching you here. Okay. The last thing with training is also looking at how you are working out. Now, similar to fasting, doing really high intensity training can bump your cortisol a little bit, right? So again, if you're experiencing anxiety, if you've got a lot of like stress in your life, if you know your cortisol is high, I probably would steer clear of doing too much high intensity training. But maybe you're in postmenopause and you feel a little bit settled, right? And your weight has settled and you're like, what's going on? I'm in a plateau, right? You can try what's called HIIT training, high intensity interval training. That's just a long word for changing up periods of high intensity, whatever you're doing, with rest or lower intensity. So for example, if you're on the treadmill, right, you can run or power walk, let's say, walk at an incline for, let's say 30 seconds. And then for 15 seconds, right, you're back to flat, you're walking, you're cooling down a little bit. Okay. What this does is it trains your anaerobic system. It will absolutely help your body burn fat, and it will help you push out of a plateau. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed these tips. I shared some diet things with you. Remember to say core if you want the core 4, say fix if you want my midlife protein fix bundle, and I'll see you next Friday for another training. Have a good weekend, y'all.